Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the series finale of Game of Thrones, The Iron Throne. And I've been watching this series since it first started out. I saw it in 2011, and I went out to get the books, and I got into this world. I like the characters, I like the world building, and I've been on it through this journey. And these last couple seasons have just messed it, man. Like, Mass Effect Level 3 stuff for me, with complete narrative breakdown on certain aspects of why would you do this. Usually, whenever I have a problem with an ending, it's usually the kind of destination that I usually take issue with. Or in this case, I don't mind where certain characters ended up, but how we got there was completely and utterly fucked. And just complete insanity. It's like you go to this restaurant and you have the most delicious peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And at first you start off and you're like, why am I going to eat this peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And then you taste it for the first time and you're like, wow, this is pretty good. And it becomes a regular place for you. And you keep eating it and you're like, okay. And then at a certain point, certain things start kind of degrading. You're like, oh, okay, well, maybe a new chef got introduced. Maybe some ingredients got changed. You never know, but you're still like, okay, I kind of have a loyalty to this. Then you start going and you get towards this last part and you see instead of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, they've served you a cum and vinegar sandwich. And you don't even bite into it. You're like, what the fuck is going on with this? This is the last season. And you see that the bread is great, but the ingredients and everything inside of it are completely changed and completely different. The amount of care and attention to detail are just night and day. There's certain things that have flown by in this season that just are a disservice to the fans and the people involved. They are better than this, and they should have done better. This is essentially D&D, Dumb and Dumber, fucking off to do whatever they want. They thought, hey, we can do whatever we want, and it's style over substance. I understand that they've gotten put in a pretty hard spot of having just the outline that Martin probably provided, and Martin better be looking at this, and here's the thing. I'm half optimistic and half pessimistic on this point. I'm like, Martin better be retooling whatever he's doing and making sure that he gets to these places in a better and logical manner. But another part of me is like, he's never going to fucking finish the books. I mean, the dude hasn't put out a mainline entry of A Song of Ice and Fire since like 2011. And he's put out other books and other things, and it's just like, So, those are my overall mental state on what has been going on and how I am viewing this finale. And it's probably not the worst finale that I have seen. But in being this invested and this interested in this show, it's pretty bad. Okay? And the characters deserve better, the actors deserve better, the fans deserve better. Hell, even the show writers deserve better, and the showrunners deserve better to put out a better product than this. This is the failure of hubris. They thought they could give us a cracktastic thing, and that because it was beautifully shot and beautifully scored and beautifully acted, that it would be alright. And here's the thing. I have no beef. I don't think these actors are being... I have no beef with the actors whatsoever. I have all the beef in the world with what they're being given. Okay? Because no matter how fucking stupid certain things were, they acted their heart out for it. Alright? I want no umbrage on them. Even if they're coming out to defend it because they've got to defend it, and this was their money cash cow, we kind of all know, and we can kind of all see with the body language that this wasn't where everybody wanted to be at. So, the episode starts out, and we see that Tyrion is wandering and looking at what's going on at King's Landing. We get more shots of the devastation and carnage, pretty much, and it's like, okay, cool, come on. We see that Tyrion kind of goes off on his own. We see Jon and Davos are finding Grey Worm, and he is murdering the rest of the captured Lannister forces. And Jon tried to stop him at first, but Davos is like, let's go to the Queen and kind of figure out what's going on. So Jon lets him do it, and he just starts killing him. And we are then brought to the front of where Tyrion goes down underneath. He's able to dig through the rubble, and he finds, luckily enough, that Cersei and Jaime are barely covered. Well, not barely covered, but covered enough that he'd have to dig to see them, but not so covered that it would take like a while for Tyrion to do it. And he digs them out, and he first saw the golden hand to Jaime, and he's crying over him, and I can understand it that I pretty much am going more that he's crying over Jaime more than Cersei, because fuck Cersei. So then we start getting everything kind of moved to the front. We see that there are a metric fuck ton of Dothraki and Unsullied. Like, their forces had to do some kind of osmosis bullshit to get to these kind of levels. As they're, like, gathered around the Red Keep, we see that Dany flies in on Drogon. She's got a cool shot where Drogon kind of landed her out and looked like she's got the dragon wings and all that. Jon gets up there as well. We see Grey Worm standing up there. Arya's looking around kind of like, what the fuck is going on? And Dany starts giving her speech, thanking her forces for getting to this point, and that they're going to liberate kind of the rest of the world. And that this isn't going to stop here. It's like, wow, that's really cool to start putting that shit in the last episode of the series. Cool, guys. Now, I can understand if it's certain things, but this is such rapid fire character development to take her from the person trying to conquer Westeros to the one who's going to liberate men, women, and children around the world and do all these things, and that this army is going to help her do that. Of course, Tyrion then pops up. She calls him out on treason, and he's like, well, you killed innocents, takes off the hand of the kingpin, tosses down, and he gets carted off to the cell. Arya pops up all ninja style as Dany went off on her own, and Arya pretty much like, I know a killer when I see one, pretty much putting more into Jon's issues of having to take out Dany. Of course, we shift over and we see that Jon goes to go talk with Tyrion, and I like this scene because we get more of the old school Tyrion. But it's more of the writers trying to explain to the audience that Dany is mad. Okay? Good writing is showing and not telling. The thing is, you're trying to show that she is mad in the last 3 episodes of the final season. That is too little too late. Okay? Talking about her doing all these ruthless things and cheering her on, and her thinking she's good and that she's got this Messiah complex. I have no issue with that route. You must take more than 3 episodes in the last season to do it, though. That is a disservice to her and the characters involved trying to understand that character arc and journey. Dany deserves better. Tyrion deserves better. And Jon deserves better, because I swear to God, he's just pretty much like my queen and duty and honor, and they have just like fucked him on lines. Okay? Granted, I've been seeing stuff on the internet, but once you think about it, it's like, he hasn't really said much but those kind of things. And Tyrion's bringing up all this stuff, and granted, to my opinion, that shows her more as ruthless more than a mad tyrant who's going to go and just kill everybody involved, pretty much like you're with me or against me, essentially pulling Cartman, respect my authority kind of shit. I shit you not, that's what it reminds me of. And fucking hell. And John's kind of trying to come to terms with this, bringing up one of the older things of love is the death of duty, and duty being the death of love, and all that. And Tyrion being like, who came up with that? Bringing up Master Aemon and all that. And that was a nice little touch. And of course, you start bringing that in, and he, of course, still starts saying that she's his queen. And Tyrion, of course, is still waiting for death, and he goes on up. He then goes and tries to find Daenerys, and we see that I don't know what's going on, if this is ash or snow. I understand a bit of it is ash, but it looks way too much to be the level of what's going on. It's almost this hybrid-ass thing of like ash, snow, because Drogon's covered in it, like whatever, and then lets Jon pass. And we see Dany finally getting to the Iron Throne. She never gets to sit on it, though. So Jon comes in, and he is given all of his weaponry. Because the plot demands things happen the way they need to be. Because evidently you take the weapons when they're going to the prisoner, but not to see the queen. God damn it. FYI, look up a good amount of Rolling Stone songs, like their greatest hits, Grr. That kind of fits for everything that I've been kind of going through with seeing this series. Like, just insanity. So, he kind of comes in, and she's kind of like, I didn't used to be able to count to 20, and imagine that I've got this now. And he's trying to get her to recognize the error of her ways. And she's like, no, I had to do what I needed to do. Now help me. And help me bring about this new world. And it's like, she can't see that she's doing the same kind of stuff, that the wheel that she's trying to break. And they kiss, and we see Jon pull back his arm, and he stabs her with a dagger. And we see Dany just die with a thud. It was beautifully shot and beautifully done, but it rang hollow. It rang that it needed to happen to continue this on and to conclude this. And when you're doing scenes like this, it should have an impact. You should be like, oh my god, this sucks for Jon, this sucks for Dany, this is hard. We've been through this journey. I mean, the best way to even kind of juxtapose this is like seeing the Red Wedding, where you see Robb make these tactical errors that are completely wrong, but you don't feel cheated when he dies. You feel that this is where it had to end up, and that's because this was the destination that was set, and it matched the journey. Here, the destination was set, but it does not match the journey. I'm sorry to harp on this, but this is the structural issue of this season and season 7. The journey doesn't match what's going on and the end games that we get to. Because by all rationale, what happens after these facts should be the happy endings that most people would complain about. I almost would have rather had Dany torch the whole goddamn thing and just fucking Rylith on her way. Because the ending gets weird, my folks. So, we pop in. And Jon is very broken over this. He has had to deal with the deaths of 2 of his loves in doing duty and honor. And we will see at the end of this episode that he continually gets punished for this. It is really weird, conflicting message-wise of doing the right thing and if it is the right thing. And if you just continually get punished for it, why are you surprised that people act like Littlefinger and Cersei and attempt to just chaos ladder this bitch, get on top, and golden shower everything else underneath after they've dragon fired the goddamn thing? So, Drogon pops in, understands what's going on, nudges Dany, and is distressed, and it sucks. he sees that his mother's dead, and then he starts using his fire, and the only reason I can think of to make important that Jon is a Targaryen is so that way he doesn't get fucking flambéed by Drogon right here, but that would actually be preferable to what actually happens towards in the end for him, in my opinion. It's like, God damn it. So he torches the Iron Throne, and that is the breaking of the wheel. He grabs Dany's body and flies off to bumfuck nowhere. That's at least better than what I saw with the spoiler, because certain spoilers had it notched up that Dany would become a new Night Queen, and I just honestly couldn't fucking take that on top of this shit, to be honest with you. So then we shift and we time jump, because we now have a council and shit going on, and we see that Tyrion is being brought forth onto a trial, and again, here comes something that the plot demands. We get into the thing where there's this power struggle going on, and we've got all these lords and ladies of Westeros, and they don't immediately try to take out these people and consolidate power. It's kind of weird. But Grey Worm's trying to figure out what to do with Tyrion and Jon, because evidently they didn't fucking kill Jon's ass the minute he's turned himself in, because it's been forever, and they're trying to figure out what to do. He's like, fine then, elect your king or representative or whatnot, and let's get to it. And who do we get? Edmure Tully. Well, first we get Samwell trying to do, hey, how about democracy? Everybody starts laughing. We see Robin Arryn, who's grown up a lot, and is actually the same actress. I'm like, alright, cool. And just laughing at that. And evidently they're just deciding to try and figure out who would be the king around here. Edmure Tully pops up after a couple seasons and is just used as a joke. He tries to put his name forth as the king, and Sansa tells him to sit the fuck back down, and here we go. And he's just used as comedic relief. And Yara, of course, wants to kill Jon because she evidently had a hard-on for Dany. It came out of nowhere. I'm like, really? You've got a better claim of making the Iron Islands yours now. And she fucking flambéed King's Landing. Have you not seen? I mean, you're in the Dragon Pit, for crying out loud. You're near enough King's Landing to see what she fucking did. You think she would have let you do whatever the fuck you want? Ooh. Because we now got Mad Dany. To be understanding, though, Yara didn't get Mad Dany because Mad Dany only became a thing in the last 3 episodes. So, whatever. And of course, they're trying to figure out who would be the king, and Tyrion puts forth that the one thing that you can't destroy are stories, and that they're like the most important thing. I like that speech, but it's kind of on the nose, and then he puts forth Bran the Broken as the king. Now, this wouldn't have been bad if more character development and everything had been done with him, because he'd essentially been a goddamn asshole, emotionless plot object for so long now. It's like, okay, whatever. And most people agree with it. They're like, yeah, Sansa's pissed off because it looked like she wanted to be queen, and says, you know what? The North is just going to be on their own little thing, and we're going to be our own independent kingdom. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And then Rand's like, that's why I came here. And we don't even really get the objective of seeing if Bran had planned out this whole insane kind of thing to begin with and was like evil at the end. Now, that would have been a better ending and kind of tweaked certain things a little bit, so it would have made it a little bit better, but it couldn't do all of the sloppy, slapdash, rushed character development that we've seen. If we had learned at the beginning that the Night King was coming to stop Bran from taking over the world, and that he orchestrated all these events to take out his mortal enemy, make Dany go mad, or get a Drogon to destroy King's Landing to make everybody think that Dany had gone completely crazy, while Dany is essentially just trying to save face, and that Jon killed her for no reason and is fucked over for no reason. That's essentially levels of indoctrination theory that had happened with Mass Effect 3's ending, which would have elevated it a lot. Mass Effect 3 was. Here, it would have elevated it maybe to the point of being good, but not saving it from the narrative missteps that have happened. So, we get King Bran and Queen Sansa. And that Jon is going to take the Black to the Wall and join the Night's Watch again, which isn't needed because there's no more others and White Walkers to deal with, and no more wildlings to fight because they're like, yo, peace, dude, we worked with the army of the living and we killed the dead, so yo, homie. I don't understand this circular crap. Of course, we get Tyrion being named the Hand of the King. Grey Worm's like, fuck that! And Bran's like, what? He'll have to spend the rest of his life trying to undo all this stuff like that. It's a life sentence, so. And then Grey Worm's like, okay. As long as Jon Snow gets fucked over. We're not done yet. So, we start getting some stuff worked back in. We see that Tyrion was talking with Jon, and of course they're commiserating over everything that's done, and he's like, fine, yeah, whatever, I'm cool with that, and we'll probably never see each other again. He's like, I don't know, I'll see you in about 10 years, because doing this shit makes me want to piss off the edge of the world, so whatever, we'll probably see each other again. I'm like, okay, cool, I don't really care, since this is the final episode, and yeah, I could like to think that way, but you've already messed up my connections with these characters, and you kind of brought a semi-similar Tyrion back in this last episode, so I was like, okay. So we see Tyrion getting his stuff together. We see that Jon is going to be sent off. They're looking and seeing everybody getting into their ships to go home and stuff, because evidently we don't know what the Dothraki are going to be doing, because it looks like they're going off. We see that Grey Worm sees him and is like still pissed off, but him and the Unsullied are going to Naath, which is kind of hilarious, because if this follows anything that the books had, there's a butterfly species there that carries a disease that kills any outsiders. So bear with me on this. The only reason they are sending Jon to the Wall is to maintain some kind of semblance of peace with the Unsullied. Grey Worm is taking the entire Unsullied to the island of Naath, and potentially getting them all killed. So what's the kind of point of having Jon at the Wall? I understand that Bran's seen all these things and orchestrated all these things, but it's like, whatever. He's saying goodbye to Arya and saying that, oh, you can see me anytime from, because you'll be up in Winterfell. And same thing around with Sansa, but Arya's like, oh no, I'm going to go off and see what's west of Westeros. I'm like, the fuck? She's becoming a pirate Christopher Columbus thing? What was the point of her arc, by the way? What was the point of getting the Faceless Man's mask ability if she really isn't going to use it for anything particular? And saying that she's just going to go off, and the words of Stark are like, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives, and she's going to go off in her, granted, cool direwolf themed ship and goes off. I'm like, okay, there's our Batwoman prequel thing going on over there. I'm just glad she didn't kill Dany. I don't know if I could have taken it with her taking out all of them. It just, everything that kind of happens towards the end of here reeks of fan fiction to a degree. And I'm a Stark person, okay? Essentially, the Starks have won everything at the end. And I'm still kind of like, this isn't right. Again, destination's not the problem. How we got there is just like, fuck. So we see this interspersing of Jon going up to the Wall, Sansa getting crowned queen, and Arya going off on her ship. And here's the thing. Sansa doesn't deserve to be queen. She has wanted to be a queen since the beginning, and she gets her thing at the end, and I'm almost thinking, why would these people keep her as a queen? She hasn't really done much. All of her victories have been what she thinks has kind of been manipulating other people, but she's really been manipulated herself. Bran manipulated her in pretty much using Jon's parentage against Dany. Littlefinger used her with the whole veil thing. It's like, I don't see her being a good queen. There's nothing that I've seen except the writers telling us, oh, Arya's saying she's the smartest person she knows. Really? Really? There are a lot of different ways she could have done a lot of different things, and I don't look forward to a North. Well, I do look forward to a North under her control because it'd be a shit show. And it's just God. I haven't I haven't liked her character since they kind of turned it once they got off the books. Up until that point, when we had like the book source material, I didn't like her character because I didn't like her character, not how they were writing her. And then you double down on it, and I don't like her character, and I really don't like how you're writing her character. Stop showing us that she's this person on the level of Littlefinger and Cersei. She's not. But that's that. And we get stuff going on with Jon. Again, I'm happy about the thing that we got, but I'm super fucking pissed because they pulled a Walking Dead bullshit ass shit on us. Okay? He gets up, he's put in there by he gets up to Castle Black. We see Tormund and the rest of the wildlings in there. There's really no Night's Watch anymore because they all got pretty much taken out. And he sees Ghost, and he finally goes up and pets Ghost as him and the wildlings go off north. And I hope Jon just pretty much said, fuck it, and just went up north and was a free folk wildling dude and saying, fuck the kneelers kind of shit. And I'm like, yeah, fuck Sansa, fuck all of them. Just go up there and do his own goddamn thing. And I'm just like, they pulled a Walking Dead thing on us. They didn't give us the goodbye with Ghost there because that wasn't where it was supposed to be. And they've been waffling over it. And of course, everybody's been pissed off. And it's like, I'm glad they did it. But you fucked with us in order to get it. You don't need to do that. So, we get even more towards the end of the episode, and we see Tyrion messing with we get a nice kind of almost simple scene of Tyrion having to deal with the stuff in the small council. And we also see another scene that deals with Brienne. Brienne has become a part of the Kingsguard and is the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. And we see her writing out all the stuff that Jaime has done, filling out his page. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. Until I started looking up that the page is on a different side and that she didn't really take much of the precautions that she needed to close the book, and instead it's just like wet ink. Again, they could be seen as quibbles and nitpicks, but these are the things that the show used to take pride in doing and giving us those details. Kind of like the water bottle during the scene where they decide that they're going to elect monarchs from now on to rule the Seven Kingdoms. When they did with Bran, they're going to continue with that going forward. I'm like, yeah, let's see how well that goes. Because they laughed at Sam's idea of letting the people decide, and I'm like, you need kind of a balance. But we'll see if any wars or anything start. So, that was a nice kind of scene. She wrote out that he died protecting his queen, and it's like, okay. I know Jaime's a complicated character, and it's just, again, I don't mind what was written. How we got there is, again, what we got. So we go in and we see the small council. We see that Sir Davos is like the master of ships. We see that Sam is an archmaester now and somehow released from his duty of being a Night's Watch because he took the oath with Jon on a weirwood tree. So don't tell me how that fucking shit works. We see Bronn's the master of coin, who has been a sellsword assassin all this time, and we see that Brienne is on the small council as well. They eventually wheel in Bran, and it's Podrick. He's part of the Kingsguard now, and he's been knighted. I'm like, yay, Podrick, good on you, bro. Definitely earned most of this stuff. I'm fine with Podrick on that stuff. His journey was not as messed up as the other ones. He built to a nice crescendo, and we're like, okay, that's pretty cool. And he's like, oh, any word on Drogon or whatnot? Oh, alright, let me go. I'll go try and find him and all that. It's like, where the fuck are you trying to find him? Granted, I understand you want to know where he is, but okay. See how that goes. Because he had evidently was heading east. We also see that working with the Archmaester that he did at the Citadel, that everything after Robert's death has been compiled in a book, A Song of Ice and Fire. I don't mind this, but it almost is like the Hershey Kiss turd on the rest of the sandwich. I don't feel the same way as like when I saw in Lord of the Rings at the end, There and Back Again, A Hobbit's Tale by Bilbo Baggins, and The Lord of the Rings by Frodo Baggins. I felt that that was a nice fitting end on that. This is just more like, oh look, a meta reference! And the whole thing's called A Song of Ice and Fire, you get it? And making fun that, Tyrion's not mentioned in the whole thing at all. It's like, okay, cool. And then they get into talking about the minutia of what they need to do, rebuilding ships and all that. Mastercoin like, yeah, okay, but we kind of have to rebuild brothels and all that. It's like they're quibbling over the need for brothels, and it was kind of nice, but it didn't have the nice dialogue that it needed to. Now, granted, there were a few little things sprinkled throughout there, like Sir Davos correcting Bronn's grammar. I kind of like that, and that is the kind of stuff. You see those little things that they hit, and they just didn't do that consistently throughout the season. It's just, could have been great, and this is what we have. And that is the end of the Game of Thrones through this. Pretty much ending them talking about brothels and all them little minutia and going back to pretty much the same old, showing that nothing had really changed and that certain people's character arcs didn't even really matter. Like Jon got back to the wall. I'm like, he could have just stayed dead. Somebody else could have killed Daenerys. Prince that was promised thing didn't mean anything. I'm fine with that. If you introduce prophecies, you either can go through with them or kind of change them or mess around with what they actually mean or what they actually do. And prophecies can be useful in having characters act in certain ways, but again, falls apart. This was definitely not the ending that was needed for Game of Thrones TV show. I don't know if Martin's ever going to finish it, and I don't know if he can finish it. I mean, I'll read it if they come out, and I don't know if he'll be able to do it better than what the showrunners do. I would like to have the hope and optimism that he would be able to. But we've been waiting for another book for years, and if he wanted to make sure that this show ended properly and did justice to his world, he should have been able to. He had a head start on the motherfuckers, too. He had 4 books out and got that 5th book out pretty much by 2011, so he had time. This wasn't as bad as it could have been. I will at least acknowledge that. But it still leaves a lot to be desired. It is not how you want to end the series. Breaking Bad was a pretty good way to end the series. I mean, it was open-ended. It left some questions here. It's just like loose ends everywhere. You're given the kind of best kind of stuff of how it ends. I didn't want a completely nihilistic ending because where like everybody died, but you get to a point where the writing has become so bad that you want this world to be done and over with, and you just want the lights to go out, and you wouldn't be adverse to that, because even though you can have some nihilistic takes, good guys win in the world and bad guys win in the world. Balance it out, because otherwise you're doing it a disservice. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't have to be like, oh, this good guy won this round, so now the bad guy's got to win this round. That's not kind of what I'm saying. If you're just saying that everybody's out to do everything for themselves and that's the vision you want to go for, at least go for that. When you get this kind of ending where people were rewarded or punished strangely, you're just like, what the fuck are you trying to say? That's the thing. I don't know what they are trying to say at the end of this. It's just like blurred. you're thinking that you're building to a crescendo of having some kind of insight or whatnot that you're supposed to glean from this story, and it's just like, you could train to become an assassin Batman and then join the high seas, or you can try and muddle your way through and become a monarch of certain things, or become an AI sentient god dude and become king. Or you try and do the right thing and get completely and utterly screwed over and essentially go live out like a lumberjack dude. But then again, he's got a friend and a dog, and he could probably get any poontang he wants up there because he saved most of people's asses, so. I think John's got the least amount, but I mean, he's really fucked up because his first love kind of got screwed over with him, and then his second love got screwed over, even though there's a little bit of time for him, and he's had to do a lot of really fucked up weird shit. And he got brought back from the dead. I don't know, man. This is just my review of what the finale did. I will probably have more thoughts and might revisit, like, talking about the whole series or whatnot, or certain aspects, because I am glad that this show occurred, because I'm always glad to see examples of what not to do these last two seasons and what you can do adaptation-wise with certain source material with the beginnings of this show and certain seasons where it's just out of the water. This is a great series to dissect great writing and horrendous writing. And God, it's just, when it ended and when it got to that black screen, I'm just like, I'm glad this is over with, and just kind of let it go. I mean, I will still go in and hit the points that need to be hit and hit the things that need to be hit, but I don't have the feeling that would be like certain anime or whatnot, or certain shows that I've watched that have stuck with me and like still elicit like an emotional response, like something that has changed me and made me think about something inside myself to kind of change my worldview or change who I am. That didn't happen here. This, I'm just like, I'm glad this nightmare was fucking over. I'm glad I got some memes out of it. Good God, what the fuck? That was my whole kind of reaction after this. And it'll be fucking interesting to see what the showrunners do after this, because they're going to Star Wars, and I would almost go to a place where I don't want to review these things, but I'm like, it'll be kind of fun to kind of rip some certain shit apart, because they're good at adapting things. But let's see if they can actually write anything. Well, mainly with Game of Thrones. I mean, one of them adapted Deadpool and X-Men Origins Wolverine, and that's the fucking thing we got. Ah, shit, man. I waited 8 years for this shit. I got fucked. Fade to black. So, those are my opinions on the series finale. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.